Good morning, boys and girls. So, today I saw the movie Fantastic Four First Steps. This is a spoiler review, so I'm gonna talk about a lot of things in the plot. If you don't want the movie to be ruined to you, go watch the movie and then come back. So let's talk. Let's start with Pedro Pascal. He's the lead of the movie. Like he is the main guy. He's like Tony Stark in this movie. Like if you watch the Avengers movies, Tony Stark is the leader. Like he funds everything. He is the science guy. Captain America, he is more like a leader who gives commands. Like go do this, go fight these guys. He's that kind of a person. He's like a military strategist. Again, Tony Stark is the technical leader. Like he knows all the science, he designs all the clothes, he makes all the shapes and everything. So Peter Pascal, who plays Mr. Fantastic, is the same person. Basically, he's worried about the world. He's worried about if the villains are going to end the earth or destroy their family, or he's having a kid with Sue Storm, so he's worried about the kid. He wants the kid to be normal. So he's that kind of a person. And throughout the movie, I felt like Pedro Pascal couldn't carry the movie. Like he's not Mr. Fantastic. If you've seen the old Fantastic Four movies, especially with the one with Chris Evans, the Mr. Fantastic actor in that movie, I think he was the best. He performed it the best. Miles Teller, who was in the Top Gun Maverick movie with Tom Cruise, he played Mr. Fantastic. I thought he was way better than Pedro Pascal was in this movie. Pedro Pascal, it felt like, he's too overexposed. He's in everything. He's in the Star Wars universe. He's doing The Last of Us. He's doing a lot of other movies with Chris Evans. He's making movies with A24. He's overexposed. I didn't like him as Mr. Fantastic. I thought John Krasinski, who plays Jim Halpert in The Office, I thought John Krasinski was a better Mr. Fantastic than Peter Pascal. Even though John Krasinski only had a small, he had a very little screen time as Mr. Fantastic in the Doctor Strange 2 movie. So I thought Peter Pascal was wrongly cast. It could have been some other actor, like I said. It could have been John Krasinski. He was a great actor. He was awesome in the Quiet Place movie. He was awesome in The Office. He could do comedy, which is Marvel. Marvel kind of comedy. He could do that. He was really good in the Doctor Strange movie. I wish he was the lead of this movie, not Peter Pascal. The second thing is Galactus. I really thought Galactus was going to win this war. I thought Galactus would destroy Earth and he'll eat Earth, and then the Fantastic Four will have to go to some other universe. At the end of Thunderbolts, we saw our end credit scene where their spaceship showed up. So I thought that's how it's going to be. Galactus would destroy Earth. He would eat everything, and then the Fantastic Four will have to go to some other universe to get their help or something like that. But then that wasn't the story. Galactus was really, really disappointing. Galactus remind me of Kang the Conqueror in Ant-Man 3. If you remember, in Ant-Man 3, Kang the Conqueror was hyped as this next big bad, similar to Thanos, and I thought Kang would win against Ant-Man and his ant family. But no, Kang lost to ants. He was eaten and destroyed by ants. That's basically what happened in this movie with Galactus. Galactus showed up as this big bad guy who was going to destroy Earth, but then towards the end, Sue Storm, she stopped him. It was super stupid. I really wished Galactus had won, but Marvel and Disney, they have no backbone, they have no spine. They could have let Galactus win so that he could continue as a villain in the next movies. They should have done that rather than having a happy ending. These movies are made for children. These movies are made for families, so they don't want to risk it. They don't want to risk the bad guy winning, and they want this to be a fun popcorn movie. So that's what this was. So Galactus was super disappointing, though I thought the actor who played Galactus, his voice was great. He has a really deep voice. He felt like a celestial. I wish he had more screen time. He looked like a smart person. Like Galactus is 16 billion years old, so he has to be really smart and creative. But he wasn't. He lost to Reed Richards. Reed Richards faked that his like he tried to bait Galactus with his own son, but then Galactus is smart. Why would he go down to Earth? He could just beam his son up. He could beam Franklin Richard up and eat him. Gain his powers or whatever, or let him take his place. He could have done all that, but then he showed up in Times Square. He started destroying buildings and all that. It felt a bit lazy. It felt like I said, it felt like they didn't have the spine to let Galactus win. They should have made the movie that way, where Galactus would win. That would have been a much better movie. But that did not happen. Galactus was super disappointing. Sue Storm, I read a lot of Twitter feed or Instagram post where things were like, even I think people at Marvel said that Sue Storm was the leader of the Fantastic Four. I don't think that was true. That wasn't true. She was a supporting character. She's like the glue that sticks all these members together. She's the heart of the movie. She's the one who's giving birth to her son. She's pregnant for most part of the movie. She's the reason they stay together. Mr. Fantastic, he is really busy with the science stuff. So Sue Storm, like I said, was the heart of the movie. You liked her really well. She was the best character, I think. She even died saving the Earth. She pushed him into the black hole. She pushed Galactus into the black hole, and she gave birth to a son while they were being chased by Silver Surfer. Like I said, I think the actress who played Sue Storm did a good job, and I didn't like how she came back after death. Like, she died in the movie by stopping Galactus, but then she came back again. Marvel doesn't have the backbone to kill off a character to have real stakes in the movie. They didn't do that either. So Franklin Richard brought her back. I have no idea. Let's talk about Franklin Richard a bit. So in the comics, I've read that he is like this most powerful mutant on Earth. He is, Galactus is more like his mentor. He has stopped Galactus in the comics. He's killed Galactus. He has created mini worlds, all that. So he is a super powerful character, though he was used as a bait. He was used as a bait to bring Galactus. He was like Tesseract. If you remember the Avengers movie, Loki was after the Tesseract. He wanted that to gain power, to rule over Earth. Franklin Richard was kind of the same in this movie, in the Fantastic Four movie, where they used him as a Tesseract. Galactus wanted him and to rule over whatever. So that's what he was. He didn't have much of a role in the movie, though I think in the future is going to be super important, because Doomsday does show up in the end credit scene. If you have seen the movie, in the end credits, Doomsday shows up. You don't see his face. RDJ is super expensive. Robert Downey Jr. charges $1 million or something for every minute he's on screen. So they didn't have the budget. They didn't have the budget to bring Robert Downey Jr. So they didn't show his face. But then he was covered in his mask. He was covered in his hood, and he has his mask and all that. And Franklin Richard was touching his face. Possibly something is wrong with his face, like in the comics, in the other Fantastic Four movies. If you do remember, his face, he has all his face covered in metal. Like, he has metal. His face is disgusting, so he wears a mask all the time to hide his face. Why is he wearing a mask in this universe? Most likely because he's Iron Man. Like, he's Tony Stark. I don't know how that's going to happen. Like, how would RDJ become? How would Tony Stark become Victor Von Doom? The only reason I could look up is the only reason I believe is that his parents die. Like, his parents would die when he's small, and then he gets adopted by the Von Doom family. So he becomes Victor Von Doom. That's possibly how it happens. He didn't have much of a role in this movie, though I think in the future he would return. Johnny Storm, he was there in the movie. He didn't have much of a role. He was there to fight Silver Surfer. He was there to fight Galactus. Ben Grimm also was there in the movie, though he didn't have much of a role. Rather than being a pilot throughout the movie, he didn't have a lot of screen time either. There was a love story they had in mind with him and some other girl, some other woman that he was meeting all the time. I don't know. He was just there in the movie. He didn't have much of a role. He was there to destroy a few buildings, maybe hold Sue Storm's hands, be the pilot, which he is. That was it. He didn't have much of a role in the movie. Silver Surfer was awesome. I didn't really mind him being a woman, like Shalabel, whatever. All the other characters are male, like all the other three main characters are male. Even Galactus is a man, so only Sue Storm was a woman. So I didn't mind when Silver Surfer became a woman. I think it was really good. I love the action scenes with Silver Surfer. She was surfing through lava. She was surfing through black holes. That was really great. I thought the action scenes with Silver Surfer was excellent. She was super powerful. Could Captain Marvel or Thor defeat Silver Surfer? I don't think so. I don't think Thor could defeat. I don't think he could defeat Silver Surfer, because she's super strong and she's cosmic. She travels so fast. She goes into black holes and she comes out after a month. I don't think Thor could do that. So Silver Surfer is most definitely the most powerful character right now, along with Sentry. I've heard that Sentry fights Silver Surfer, and Silver Surfer wins. So in the comics, I don't know for real. The VFX in this movie were excellent. For the past 3 4 years, Marvel has been making mediocre visual effects, especially with Thor movies, the Ant-Man movie. All that had bad visual effects. So this time they did a good job. They spent a lot of money into making good visual effects. The black hole, Galactus looked awesome, Silver Surfer looked awesome, the fight scenes were awesome. Reed Richards stretching, that was awesome. All the fight scenes were excellent. The entire tone of the movie, the color scheme was excellent. It's all blue and black, no, blue and white. It was awesome. I really liked it. I thought it was excellent. VFX was great. The movie is though boring. It's not as good as the other Fantastic Four movies, like the ones with Chris Evans. I think those movies were much more fun. They were more fun to watch. This movie, I don't believe, has repeated watchability. Like, you cannot watch it again. I've seen it once and I don't want to watch it again. Most good movies, especially good Marvel movies, you'd like to watch it again, like Captain America, Winter Soldier, Avengers, Infinity War, Endgame. All those good movies, you feel like you want to watch again, but this is not that kind of a movie. It's a one-time watch, boring, mediocre movie. Doomsday, like I said, shows up. So, the end credit in Thunderbolts wasn't anything. Like, I think they wanted to build hype for this movie, so they cooked up that end credit scene, which didn't really make any sense. Though I hope they make some kind of connection in the future. That's possibly how they thought of it, right? They were like, let's do this, but then let's figure out how to do that in the future movies. So, like I said, it wasn't as bad as Thunderbolts was, but it's not the best Marvel movie either. It was like a mediocre mid-level Marvel movie. I'd give it a solid 5 out of 10. Did you guys watch the movie? Did you guys like the movie? Do let me know in the comments. Do like, share, and subscribe for more videos. Thank you. Bye bye, my friends.